We eat for a reason. We always eat for a reason. We overeat for a reason. If you find yourself standing in the pantry staring at the cashews and the peanut butter and not knowing how you got there, there is a reason. And sometimes it's because you're having emotions that you don't know how to deal with. Sometimes you're eating because you're unhappy, or you're happy, or you're anxious, or you're fearful, or any of those things.
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey friend, welcome back to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm Jenn Trepeck, your host and health coach, here with you every week for wellness without the weirdness. And I know I say this at the end of every episode, but I want to say it here that I truly love hearing from you. And whether it's an email, a comment on the episode in Spotify, or a DM on social media, your messages are everything. And I share that because today's episode is really because of what I'm hearing from you. Now, I know some of you are having a healthier December than in past years, and that is tremendous. That's the goal, right? Progress, not perfection. And I've also heard from some of you that this month is stressful and, emotional eating happens. We have tons of gatherings and celebrations, and also the holidays for some people aren't quite enjoyable. And so, emotions abound at this time of year, as does eating. And so I think those things also go together. So today, I have a truly wonderful expert to talk to us about emotional eating and the holidays. She's a psychologist, emotional eating expert, author, host of the Too Much on Her Plate podcast, and the creator of You're Missing Peace, spelled P-E-A-C-E, the program that supports smart, busy women in creating freedom from overeating and peace with food. She's helped thousands break cycles with overwhelm, overload, and overeating without feeling deprived and without depending on ridiculous amounts of willpower. Rather, she helps people lose their cravings and their overeating habits. Her approach to helping working mothers, busy professionals, and stressed out business owners emphasizes leveraging your unique strengths, ditching diet mentality, and using the power of psychology. Her perspective has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, CNN Health, Weight Watchers Magazine, Good Housekeeping, Working Mothers, Fitness, Women's Health, Real Simple, Self, and now Salad with a Side of Fries. So I'm honored to introduce you to Dr. Melissa McCreery.
So good to be here. And salad with the side of fries is going to go to the top of the list now.
Right. Yeah, perfect. And I want to start with your personal story and then go from there. But super quick, we have to tell our members what they're getting this week. So members, your recipe this week is for sausage and greens soup. The recipe uses turkey sausage and Swiss chard. You could certainly change it up if you prefer something else to either of those. But I think soups are great this time of year for a meal or a snack. And by the way, this one is a soup that you can make start to finish in like 20, 30 minutes, which is really fast for a soup. So then from Dr. Melissa McCreery, today's featured guest, you're getting her bonus called Taking Your Power Back from Hidden Hungers over the holidays. And we're going to talk more about hidden hungers, but Dr. Melissa, give us like the 15-second rundown of what they're getting.
A set of power questions, actually, that you can use to create a plan to enjoy your holidays and have peace with food and stay on track with your goals. And we will talk about this a lot. This is not a super secret plan to have more willpower and make yourself miserable, right? It's about the side of fries and enjoying yourself and your holidays and feeling fantastic at the end of it.
1,000%. I love it. And then also, because it's the third month of the quarter, it's time for your quarterly live Q&A. It's back to a one-on-one this quarter, so your email on Friday has details for how you schedule a time that's convenient for you. So if you want this recipe, the bonus on hidden hungers at the holidays from Dr. Melissa McCreery, or the one-on-one with me, be sure you're a member. Go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries. For just $10 a month, you get weekly recipes, a monthly article or tool, extra discounts from me and our partners, plus access to live Q&A sessions. It's a total deal. I say it all the time. When you take advantage of the full offerings, it's a steal because you save more than that $10. Seriously, it is a no-brainer way to show yourself that your health is a priority. Plus, being a member supports this podcast and this community so that we can continue to do this with you every week. So remember, all you have to do is go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries, or better yet, click the link in the episode notes because that's a lot easier. Once you're there, you click the little I agree button and then support now, enter your email and payment info, click subscribe, and you're all set. You're going to get this week's recipe for the sausage and green soup, Dr. McCreery's Hidden Hungers guide, and then your quarterly live Q&A, just you and me for 30 minutes. Okay, Dr. Melissa, we didn't hear much of this in your bio, but you had your own challenges in life, with all of this stuff. So will you share, what led you to this work and what you were able to achieve for yourself and others?
Absolutely. So my story is not so exciting because it's really in the past, but that's actually what makes me so passionate about what I do. I had my struggles with food. I had my struggles with overeating. I had my struggles with binging and weight and all the different sizes of clothes in the closet and all that stuff. And now I don't. It's been years. It's been decades. Actually, it's been many decades now. And I just thought, this happened for me as a young adult. Lots of therapy, lots of, I'm a persistent person, lots of work on myself, lots of self-help books, I couldn't even put together what exactly I did. But it was in the past. It was like I used to bite my nails. And then one day I realized I don't bite my nails anymore. It was gone. And then I became a psychologist. And I started working with women. And women started to talk to me about their relationship with food. And I got involved in working with eating disorders and weight and food and every single way you could tangle those things up. And it became very clear to me that there are very few people in this world sharing the idea that you can have a struggle with this stuff and you can leave it behind. You can end it. You can free yourself from it. What I was seeing was highly credentialed experts teaching self-control and discipline and management. And I was sitting across from incredible women who were telling me, I know this is something I will always struggle with. I know this will always be an issue for me. I know I'm always going to have to work really hard. I'm really going to have to stay on top of this. And I got mad. I got frustrated. I got passionate because I don't even have a story to tell anymore. I'm free from this stuff. I've worked with so many women who are now free from this stuff. And that doesn't mean waking up every morning worrying about whether you're going to be able to control your eating or your overeating or whether you'll gain weight over the holidays. So my passion is sharing that freedom with other women and teaching them to take their power back from food and cravings and emotional eating, because the women I work with have much better things to do with their time and their energy.
1,000%. And I feel like you just put to words what I experience all the time. And even for myself, I was one of those people. I used to think that this was going to be a thing forever. And you would always be on some diet or other. The idea of where I live now, mentally, physically, right? Like all of those pieces around food, was not even in the realm of things I thought were possible because I heard all those same things.
Yeah.
It's amazing to be on the other side of it and experience it and be able to say to someone, no, it is possible. There is this other place.
And it's a hard thing to talk about. There's the eye roll factor, which I talk about a lot. A lot of things you all who are listening are going to hear on this episode today, I'm going to predict, are going to cause you to roll your eyes because you're like, right. Or, yeah, for me, no, that's not possible. If you haven't experienced it, and part of this is because we have grown up inside of diet culture and what I call diet mentality and deprivation mentality, being taught that the only way out of this is really hard work and structure and discipline and, rigidly getting things perfect all the time. And when you have a belief system that is so strong and somebody says, no, you don't have to do that. It can be easy. You can actually forget to have a craving. It sounds like a fairy tale.
Right. Yeah. And so along those lines, I think even the term emotional eating can be charged. And so I know you say this is both a useful and a useless label. Can we talk about that so that we're all on the same page about what we're even talking about?
Absolutely. So We eat for a reason. We always eat for a reason. We overeat for a reason. If you find yourself standing in the pantry staring at the cashews and the peanut butter and not knowing how you got there, there is a reason. And sometimes it's because you're having emotions that you don't know how to deal with. Sometimes you're eating because you're unhappy, or you're happy, or you're anxious, or you're fearful, or any of those things. And it can be helpful to know that, okay, that's the reason. I'm an emotional eater. Most of us emotionally eat at one time or another. But sometimes, and I hear this a lot from women, it's like, okay, yeah, I know I'm an emotional eater, or I know I'm a stress eater, but what am I supposed to do with that? That is not helpful. It's like, yes, duh. I mean, right. That's what's going
right.
on. And the truth is, sometimes, let's take emotional eating, I might eat because I'm anxious. And what you will read in a low-level literature about emotional eating is, well, maybe you need some tools to deal with anxiety, right? You need some help to deal with anxiety. Well, that's not necessarily true. We have these hidden hungers. There are 5 of them that I work with a lot with the smart, busy women that I work with, which are things that we are really hungry for, that we really need, that we're using food to replace, or we're using food to help us get through or to take care of, kind of as a Band-Aid. All of those hidden hungers can make emotional eating more tempting. It can make it easier. So for instance, a hidden hunger is a need for rest. If I'm exhausted, I can have the best tools in the world for anxiety, but I may not have the bandwidth to deal with the situation right now. So it might be helpful to know that I'm emotionally eating because I'm anxious, but actually what I really need is to address my hidden hunger for rest. I really need to get some sleep, right? And the same thing if I'm too busy, or if I'm stressed, or if I'm not getting enough self-care or me time, or I can overeat in the face of anxiety for a lot of different reasons. And if what happens is I have a message in my head that's just like, oh, I got to get better with anxiety, I need some tools, that's not going to be very helpful. It's actually going to be very irritating.
So I have so many things popping up in my head. What I love the most about what you just said is that I think it answers for people why you can be so smart and successful and on top of things and feel like this is something that we just can't do.
Well, yeah, because part of it is for a lot of women, that's how they stay on top of a million things. That's how they end up in being able to be in 3 places at once and get the job done. And, it's because all the while you're doing all those amazing things, you're doing them at the expense of yourself. You're not getting fed what you really need, right? You have these hidden hungers that are building up. And boy, it is so easy to slap on some food to try to keep going. Or think about it. Food is everywhere. And we're talking about the holidays too. Food is everywhere. You can do food without saying no to somebody else. You can grab something to eat and still do the thing. It doesn't intrude on anybody else's life. It's so easy to say, I'll just use a little chocolate to get through this. And then it's the holidays, right? So there's all this stuff everywhere.
And I think sometimes it's not even the food or the choice to eat it. It's what happens after. And that beating ourselves up piece, and that, that frankly is worse than whatever, was the food or the fact that we ate because of emotions. How do we sort of work with all of those elements in this?
Well, we could talk for about 4 episodes about that.
I know.
But you're exactly
loaded.
right.
Yeah.
And to bring it back to the idea of the holidays, what I hear from a lot of people is it's like all or nothing, right? And it's all or nothing. And so I've either got this plan that I'm on where I'm being really vigilant about what I'm eating and how I'm eating, or, it's the holidays and there's going to be cookie trays and there's going to be a potluck and my aunt is making this and blah, blah, blah. So it's a free for all. It's I'll just deal with this, in the new year, or I'll just deal with this next week, or so it's all or nothing. And neither of those options feel good, right? I think that's the first place to start, because there's a lot of stories that get told. And one of the most powerful things that drives our overeating is the belief system that we have, the stories that we tell ourselves, the things that we repeat over and over to ourselves so frequently that we just start to believe that they are facts, right? Like, I can't deal with this over the holidays, or it's not going to be possible for me to eat the way I want to over the holidays, or of course I'm going to gain weight over the holidays. I'll just deal with it in January. Or I think it's really important to look at what you're telling yourself about what the next couple of weeks, if you're celebrating the December holidays, right? What the next couple of weeks, what are you telling yourself is inevitable or has to happen, or you don't want to happen, but it's out of your control. Because there's a lot of that goes on this time of year.
And I think that's, one of the places where we get in our own way about it, right? Where it's like we're creating that limitation for ourselves. So what is a tool or a way that we can start to shift that when we notice that we're saying that thing to ourselves, or we figure out that like, I just said that to someone, like I can't deal with this over the holidays,
Yeah, I would back up even another step, because so much of what happens around food is kind of autopilot. It's autopilot behaviors, it's autopilot habits, it's autopilots. Well, we're going to do this and we do this every Saturday, and so this will happen. And it doesn't have a lot of intentionality and thought. And yet, one of the reasons that I hear so many people say, well, we're just taking December off. We're just going to deal with this in January, is because you don't want all those rules, right? So the place to really start is with some intentionality. I think it's really worthwhile, no matter where you are, whether it is a couple weeks out from whatever it is you're going to be celebrating, whether we're talking about the New Year's party, whether we're talking about Christmas, whether we're talking about another holiday, whether you're in the car on your way into the big potluck dinner, to take a beat and to think about, okay, what do I want from this experience? And not how will I eat or how will I manage myself, but how do I want to feel at this event? What do I want to experience? What am I looking forward to? I talk to a lot of women who are really looking forward to these holiday experiences or visits with certain people or conversations that they want to have or a party that they really enjoy. And they don't ever really enjoy it because they're so busy doing this whole list of shoulds of things that, they feel like are obligations or taking care of other people. And in the meantime, they're passing by the cookie tray or whatever, just grabbing something as they go. And then they're like, I don't even know how I ate all that stuff. And did you have fun? Well, no, I'm actually exhausted. Right? So starting with what are you, to keep going with this hunger metaphor, what are you really hungry for from this event? When you get in the car afterwards, or when you get in the plane and you buckle yourself in on the way home, or when you close the door after your last guest leaves, or you put the last decoration away, or whatever it is that is the end, how do you want to feel? What will leave you feeling like, that was great? Like, think about that. That's a good starting place. Because what you're doing is you're working into, how am I going to feed myself over this season or this evening in all the ways? It's not just about the food.
Yeah, I like that we're using this metaphor of feeding ourselves beyond, actual fuel that we think of as food, right? But, like you're saying, feeding the need for rest, feeding the need for quiet, feeding the need for, to decompress, all of these other things that are actually really important. And as the holidays, like I say this about Thanksgiving all the time, like it is the one holiday where I end up seeing a lot of family that I don't see other times of the year. And I always remind myself, like, keep the main thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? This holiday for me is about these people.
Yeah. It's so funny because I think people, if they feel like they want to work on their eating over the holidays, actually, and if you feel like you don't want to deal with your eating over the holidays, it's probably because your approach is, I'm going to make a list of how I'm going to eat and how I'm going to be good, in air quotes, right? And you're either going to work really hard on it, or you've already know, I don't want to do that, so forget it. But really, one of the most powerful things you could do for your emotional eating and your overeating over the holidays is to think about, okay, what do I really want to savor? This can be food. There are these Christmas cookies that we have once a year that I just love, and I am going to savor the mess out of them, right? So what do you want to savor? But it's also, like you said, the relatives, a certain conversation. I want to spend time with my sister, or I want to be able to just sit and enjoy the Christmas tree, or, whatever. What do you want to savor? And then another really powerful question is, okay, and what could get in the way of that? What could throw that off track?
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah. I mean, how much of that mindless eating happens because you're not getting what you really need, or you're feeling resentful, or like things went sideways and they didn't turn out the way that you had this whole elaborate plan in your mind that they were going to turn out, right? Or it feels like everybody got what they wanted except you, right? How could it go sideways? Just those two questions in advance can change so much.
Yeah, I want to let everybody Let that sink in. Everybody think about that as we highlight our partner for this episode, and then we're going to come back and keep digging. All right. Big thanks to Layered Jewelry for supporting Salad with a Side of Fries. The modern woman is multifaceted, taking on many important roles in the various aspects of her life. Inspired by her own multi-layered life as a busy mom, trendsetter, entrepreneur, and influencer, Amber Ridinger McLaughlin set out to create a line of luxury jewelry that lets women create their unique style and celebrate their own beautiful layers. Layered is luxurious and affordable, the perfect combination for the modern woman. Layered allows you to mix, match, stack, and layer pieces that make you feel empowered and beautiful. Each piece is handcrafted to be unique and exquisite just for you. So holiday season, if you're still looking for gifts for anybody on your list, I highly recommend Layered. The latest collection is the Timeless collection. It is exactly that. I'm obsessed with the bracelets. The Marissa is like 2-in-1 for $120. Layered has options at virtually every price point. Plus, you get 10% off and free shipping for being a Salad with a Side of Fries listener. So simply text the word LAYERED, LAYERED, to 844-947-4846. You'll get the link and coupon code right to your phone. Again, simply text the word LAYERED, LAYERED, to 844-947-4846. This is a toll-free number. Standard text and data rates may apply. Okay, so this I think can hit hard for people of the things that could get in the way, or derail. And my instinct is that most people are thinking about a million other things, but their own drill sergeant in their minds, right? So how can we help make sure that we have those contingency plans for the other people, but also that we're creating a plan for, our own sort of black and white default.
Right. The drill, black and white, being hard on yourself.
Yeah. Having this idea that I told myself this was the thing. That's not what's happening. Now I'm failing at this too.
Yeah.
Right.
It's such an important question because this is the place that diet mentality has taught us to go, right? If you aren't getting results, it's because you haven't stuck with the program that somebody handed you and told you you should follow. And if you can't stick with the program, or if you are sticking with the program and you're not getting results, it's all your fault. You just need to work harder. And the image I always teach and ask you guys to have in your mind is it is being told to just keep running faster on this hamster wheel because it's not working. It's not bringing you results. just right. Yell at yourself and run faster. And somehow the idea is that you will get somewhere. I think that image is really helpful because once you see it, it is a little hard to unsee. The antidote to the drill sergeant and that, yelling voice that tells you to run harder, first of all, is realizing that's not helpful, but is curiosity, okay? The way to get off the hamster wheel is to, wait a minute, why isn't this working? Why did I eat all the cookies? Why was yesterday so different than today? Why did I feel fine until about 11:30 and then I feel like I just lost all my motivation? What was going on there? See, this hooks into this whole idea that there is always a reason that we eat. And if you're in the camp of was I good or did I blow it, which I don't think is helpful, but it's old thinking and it's going to take a while to get rid of it, there's always a reason that you blow it. And you can't be curious if you've already decided it's just your fault and you need to run faster on the hamster wheel. That hamster wheel thinking kills curiosity, and curiosity is how you solve the puzzle. And this is all just a puzzle. So what's going on there is such a much more powerful question than anything you'll ever get for being hard on yourself. And the holidays, there's a lot of great material in the holidays. There are people that maybe you don't usually see. Some of them you love, some of them you love, and they're incredibly difficult or challenging. There are all sorts of foods that you may not see. There's a lack of structure or a different structure. There's vacation. There's changes in sleep schedules. There's all sorts of things to be curious about. And if you just play with that, this is figure outable. What do I want? What's my vision? What could get in the way of it? What just got in the way of it this afternoon, right? And again, it's not all or nothing. It's not, okay, now it's blown, so we'll just come back to this in 3 weeks when I'm feeling refreshed. It's like, okay, so what's the next thing? How do I keep moving forward?
Yeah, there's so many pieces here because, it reminds me for any of my clients who are listening or, like my egg analogy where, what are the eggs? If we break one, what do we do with the other 11? in that dozen, right? We don't dump them on the ground. So what are the other 11 eggs that we can hold on to? And we also even protect them. So what are the things that we can protect and keep moving forward with and sort of help us feel some semblance of our normal in these times that we are so out of our routines and out of our, usual experiences in there. And then the other thing that was coming up as you were talking is we did an episode a couple months ago now about 8 chemicals that drive overeating and undereating. And so there's also a piece in this curiosity of recognizing what else is at play here besides just my own mental state. Like a lot of that, did we, not eat enough in the morning in the first half of the day, or not eat enough, actual nutrition that our body is craving food?
Exactly. Yeah. There's so much, failure. And I don't use that word usually, but that's how your brain thinks of it. Failure is it's gold. That's where you learn, okay, this doesn't work for me. It isn't where you get back on the hamster wheel, beat yourself up and say, run faster. It's like, okay, so why didn't it work? Maybe it's never going to work for you, but why? And what would work better, right? What do you need to be effective? What do you need? Not how do you make yourself make this program work for you, right? So I think the other thing that can happen is that people can start to look at the reasons, and this comes into play around the holidays, but I think other times as well, you can start to look at the reasons that you are standing there with the freezer open looking at the ice cream or having already eaten the ice cream, and it can feel overwhelming. Like, oh yeah, Melissa, of course I have hidden hungers. I've got this and I'm tired and I'm stressed and I'm too busy and I haven't had any time for myself today, and it can feel really overwhelming. And we have been taught that the way that you take action with your eating is you do big, dramatic things that are going to create instant results and you make yourself miserable. And it's more of the hamster wheel stuff, which is part of, you and I were talking before we started recording. I have a quiz on my website. It's called the Hidden Hungers Quiz. And I designed that for a couple different reasons. One is I wanted people to have a free tool where they could go and find out what their hidden hunger is so you can start to be effective with it. But also, these things run together. Right? If you've got stress, you're stressed, you're too busy, you haven't gotten enough sleep, you've got emotions that you don't have the bandwidth to deal with, you haven't any time for yourself. It can feel like another hamster wheel. And so what I wanted to do was create a tool that would not just tell you, oh, you have a lot of work to do, because that's not
helpful.
Yeah, right. But that would really home in on, this is your primary hidden hunger. This is the place to start. And here is a very simple thing to do, along with some free resources. Like, this is the thing you can do to start to be effective. Because just like a vicious cycle gets started and snowballs pretty quickly, what we underestimate all the time is how small positive actions can snowball too. And especially you all, think about how much of your behavior over the holidays, any holiday, I don't care if it's a birthday or a winter holiday or, vacation, think about how much of your behavior is kind of automatically driven. This is what I do on Christmas Eve. This is what I do during Hanukkah. This is what I do when I'm on vacation. This is what I do. We just have these things that we routinely go through. And so taking a teeny tiny little thing and making a change, it starts to shift all sorts of things. And it starts to help you catch the automatic things that you are doing that aren't necessarily working for you. A lot of which you might not even be enjoying. You just think this is what we do during the holidays.
Yeah. And that goes back to what you were saying before of how do we want to feel? What do we want to savor in this? And, adding another question that is, what are the things that we do that actually we don't even enjoy? Like,
yes.
Do we need to do those things?
Yeah. Yeah, so many people have given me like a list of, well, this has to happen and this has to happen and this. Well, why? Well, my family expects it. That may be one. But then they've gone, like, have you ever asked them? Boy, that can be enlightening. Like, turns out nobody cares about
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. What can get
it? Reminds me of that story of like, I don't know if this is true or like a fable or whatever, where like they make this dish and they cut off the ends of the meat. And so forever they've cut off the ends, and then somebody finally asked and they were like, well, my mother's mother just had a really small pan. And so we had to cut it off to make it fit. And it's like, for generations, they're cutting off the ends for no reason.
What do you really want? What are the things that, like, at the end of whatever this is, days or a day or a couple of hours, would feel like, that was really great? It's probably not a big, long list of things, right? It's probably, but are you really doing deliberately what it will take for you to just squeeze the most enjoyment out of those things? Whether it's a relationship or a movie or tasting the roast that you labored over all day long, what is it that you really want, and how can you give it to yourself or create a space so that it will actually happen?
So, quick question on the Hidden Hungers quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Is it recommended that we take that quiz in a quiet moment while we have it? Or is it something that we want to use in that moment? Like, notice we're standing in front of the freezer and be like, pause, take the quiz.
We're all imperfect beings. I think you take it when you can get to it, but it's like 30 some multiple choice questions is pretty quick. Okay. I would take it now because it's gonna give you some things to look out for. For instance, there's a hidden hunger for compassion, which surprises a lot of people. But once you start to tune into that's what's going on, you're gonna start to see it, right? Or if you have a hidden hunger for self-care and me time, for instance, once you start to see it and once you start to read the examples and once you start to look at the resources, you're going to start to notice when it's creeping up. So there's an empowering piece of this too. Again, back to curiosity. Curiosity is an incredible tool. Once you start to wonder what's going on and you start to look for certain things, then you can start to address them. And that's a game changer.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I want to also touch on, we have these next couple weeks and then it's the new year. And I'm not the biggest fan of resolutions, but inevitably a new year has many thinking, this is what I want to do differently, or this is what I want to change. And I actually had to look this up today for something else, right? 9% of people's resolutions, or whatever you want to call them, actually stick or come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
So if over 90% end up not working, I'm so curious to hear you talk about, why is change so hard? Why is doing things differently?
Let's tackle that in the next 2 minutes, okay?
Right, yeah, no.
Yeah. You know what? So change is hard partly because it's a psychological process. Okay. What we create when we create our New Year's resolutions, most people, what they create is a giant to-do list. And my friends, myself, the women I work with, we don't need more to do on our lists. We don't, we have barely enough space for the stuff that we're already doing. So the answer is not to create a to-do list. And part of it is you got to understand the psychology of change, which includes what motivates you? What do you believe about your ability to change? What do you believe is possible for you? Back to the very beginning when I said so many women are thinking, they have doubt. Can I ever conquer this? Maybe I just need to be stricter with myself. Maybe this is always going to be, an issue for me. Maybe I need to give up on it. What do you believe is possible? What is the soundtrack? We do a lot of work on this inside my Missing Piece program. What is the soundtrack that is playing in your head? As you think about, you can play with this right now. If you're listening and you just think for a minute about the idea of New Year's resolutions. Some, maybe you love them, maybe you hate them. What are the thoughts that pop into your mind? Oh, they never work for me. Oh, I love them, but they never last. They're usually not positive because back to the 9%, right? but right. Just right there, you have a soundtrack, which are your thoughts and beliefs about, and then you have a soundtrack that is your thoughts and beliefs about food. I will have to give up all the stuff I love. I'm going to have to clean up my pantry. I'll never be able to eat sugar again. Yours is your unique soundtrack, but I'm willing to bet if you haven't worked on this, and most people need to work on this with somebody else because it's just so much a part of us, it's hard to see your own soundtrack. You just think that's the world. But if you haven't worked on it, change is a lot harder than it needs to be. Don't you think so?
100%. And we have this expectation that we're going to flip a switch.
Yeah.
And that's not how change works either.
We're going to flip a switch. We're going to do more. I'm just going to do more because miraculously I'll have more energy and more space and more time in my calendar in January. Right. And I'll get it perfect. I won't blow it this time because life will cooperate every single hour of the day.
Right. And it goes back to everything we were saying of then the hidden hungers that end up creating all the reasons that we then don't stick with some of these, right? It becomes like almost this cycle.
Oh, here, could we throw this in?
Yeah.
Because here's a bonus thing that you can play with the holidays. So you ask yourself, what do I really want to savor? How can it go sideways? So take it a step further. When it goes sideways, what do I want to do? What will you do if it goes sideways? Instead of, okay, we'll just wait till January, probably January 5th, because, the first week is kind of busy and stressful.
Right.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Make a plan.
Love it. Anything else, a thought to wrap this up, something that we missed? I mean, I know we could go on forever, but, for this conversation in this moment.
I think keep it simple. Actually, we didn't talk much about the holidays being difficult for a lot of people, right? So also, how do you take care of yourself over the holidays? If this is not a season that you are looking forward to, what do you need? How can you take care of yourself? What do you want to get from this period as well? It's all these questions that we talked about are equally valid.
Yeah. I think there's almost, when this isn't your favorite time of year, for some people, there's almost like another layer of shame or guilt or hiding. And so for anybody, like, it's all okay.
It's all normal. It's all completely normal.
Yeah. All right. Let's switch gears to our rapid fire off topic questions.
Okay. I probably not, but here we go.
I think you'll be okay. What's the best thing you've done for your health this week? What's the naughtiest thing you've done related to your health this week? Because balance.
Oh, the best thing I did for my health this week is I got good sleep. Absolutely. The naughtiest thing I did for my health this week was I had a really lovely Manhattan with some really great bourbon and special cherries in it. It was delicious.
We are kindred spirits for sure. Because, if you weren't a psychologist, coach, and writer, what would you do?
Oh, I'd be an interior designer in a heartbeat.
That answer comes up a lot.
Really?
There's something to this. It's very interesting. Your favorite book on any topic other than your area of expertise, or you could give us a fiction book.
Well, it would be fiction. I always go blank on favorites like that, but it's absolutely fiction. I have given up reading actually nonfiction for the last year, and it is one of the most fun things I've ever done. Just fiction. Light fiction, no trauma.
Love it. All right. If you could cure one ailment, disease, or sickness, what would it be?
Alzheimer's.
If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
That's a hard one. What do people say? What's the most popular answer?
Flying, usually.
Really? Yeah, that would be pretty good. I would take that.
I want to teleport.
No, I would go with, I like watching the eagles, when they get in the jet stream and they go around in circles. I would do that with the eagles. That sounds good.
Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
People not following through on their word.
In your opinion, what's the next frontier in wellness?
Oh, I think it is, I don't know what to call it, but it has to do with people. It's empowerment. People learning that they can trust themselves and they actually know themselves better than any expert. All that expertise has to filter through you.
1,000%. Well, Dr. Melissa McCreery, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody how to connect with you, where to learn more. Remind everybody how to get the Hidden Hungers quiz too.
Yeah. Okay. So to get the Hidden Hungers quiz, go to toomuchonherplate.com/quiz. toomuchonherplate.com is my website. I would love for you to check out my podcast, which is the Too Much on Her Plate podcast. There's a theme here. At Too Much on Her Plate on Instagram and same handle on Facebook.
Yeah. We'll put links to everything down below so everybody can just click. Thank you again. I so appreciate how you explain things, and you're so intentional in your word choices that it is noticed and appreciated. So thank you.
Oh, this was a great conversation. I hope everybody has the holidays that they want to have. Yeah.
Love that. Absolutely. All right, friends, on Friday, this week's Nutrition Nugget bonus episode is called Chew. And that means chew your food. Why is this so important? We're going to get into it on Friday in this week's Nutrition Nugget bonus episode. So be sure wherever you're listening, click the plus sign or the follow button, and then your app will alert you when it goes live on Friday. Well, As always, everybody, I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I am at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideoffries.com. This is your personal invitation. Send me a message. I want to hear your takeaways, your ideas, your questions. This is also the easiest way to learn more about working with me as your health coach. Dr. Melissa McCreery, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Good, it was. And friends, if you're not already, join our membership by going to glow.fm/saladwithasideoffries. This shows your support for this podcast, this community, and most importantly, it supports your health. You'll get this week's recipe for sausage and green soup, Dr. McCreery's bonus called Taking Your Power Back from Hidden Hungers Over the Holidays, and your quarterly live Q&A, which is just you and me, a one-on-one. So until next week, remember, emotional eating is not the end of the world. And you can make progress even over the holidays. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it and you are worth it. Happy healthy.